It's time for all the news you need and more. Brookland is Live starts right now.
And good day, good to be with you. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Time now just about 2 o'clock here. It is Tuesday, January 6th. There is no lack of news. Therefore, we want to get right to the headlines that we are following right now. Starting with this scene live in Washington, D.C. Did you hear the date correctly? It is January 6th, marking 5 years since the attack on the Capitol. A look as protesters there reclaimed their steps, retraced their steps, I should say. Hearing held on Capitol Hill by House Democrats. We have that for you in just a few moments. Plus, continuing to follow the Colombia-Venezuelan border there, as if we get any type of update, we'll bring that to you live right here on Brookland News. President Donald Trump also spoke earlier today. We're here for 1 hour. We're going to get to all of those remarks as they come in. We do want to start first with the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and the House Speaker Mike Johnson. They spoke on the attacks in Venezuela. Of course, yesterday they were briefed. The Gang of Eight, essentially, is what they're being called, were briefed on all of this. I want to play a little bit of their remarks. It's going to start off with Senate Minority Leader and then go to the House Speaker. Here you go.
Very extensive and long, posed far more questions than it ever answered. Their plan for the U.S. running Venezuela is vague, based on wishful thinking, and unsatisfying. I did not receive any assurances that we would not try to do the same thing in other countries. And in conclusion, when the United States engages in this kind of regime change and so-called nation building, it always ends up hurting the United States. I left the briefing feeling that it would.
We are assembling now, as you know, for a Gang of Eight briefing on the operation in Venezuela. What's very important to acknowledge here is that this is an operation that did not require prior consent of Congress, prior authorization of Congress. It required notification of Congress. It's well within Article 2. I know as many details as I can know before going to the SCIF for the classified briefing. But I spoke with the President of the United States, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense within hours of the operation commencing. The first call was from Marco Rubio at about 4 a.m. So they've done everything that they were supposed to do. This was an appropriate action, and we'll get a lot more detail inside. But they have been talking, all the administration officials have been talking to Senate and House members on a constant basis since this happened. And this is a big part of their obligation there. We'll have a further briefing for all members of Congress sometime by midweek. That's what we're planning, and we'll keep you posted. Thanks.
You heard him say midweek there would be when Congress, the entire Congress, would get a full update. Of course, there is 435, 535, including all, if everyone's present, that includes everyone there. So 535 people all getting the same information. Will probably get some type of update there, but they are the Gang of Eight reacting to that briefing. Chuck Schumer, the Democrat from New York, the Senate Minority Leader, reacting, saying there was no evidence proving that Venezuela should have been attacked and that the president should have been captured. So this is a story we are again going to follow. I'll leave you out right now on a quick back check here on the Venezuelan and Colombian border. Of course, Trump earlier, I should say about Sunday night, as he headed back to D.C., saying in a press gaggle on Air Force One that Colombia's government could be close to falling. That's, of course, a paraphrase there, but again, what Trump is saying there. I want to turn right now to the scene in Washington, D.C. right now. January 6th, protesters there revisiting their steps. Turn the audio up here for just a moment and we'll listen in.
Snowflakes cry about it more. I could send you medication. The great RFK could send you DDS medication. Paid by us, the taxpayers. We could fund it, no problem. Jeffrey Hakeem, Ballard Stone Obama. Keep crying, bitch.
So you see there, January 6th protesters retracing their steps. Of course, 5 years following that riot on the Capitol. They've been kind of saying some of the people that passed away. Of course, Ashley Babbitt, one of those people who died in that attack, was killed, I should say. There, as they, again, you take a look there as they retrace their steps. I want to take you to something that occurred. It was about 4 hours long. It concluded last hour, but there was a hearing held by Democrats, House Democrats specifically, on this. We are going to listen in for just a moment. Again, we only have an hour with you, and we still have a lot of news to get to. So we're going to listen in here for just a moment to the opening remarks.
Comments in this opening statement. We'll now hear from Leader Jeffries to open this hearing.
Thank the distinguished chairman for his leadership and for convening us this morning on this very solemn, important occasion. Before we begin, in light of the passing of Congressman Doug Lamarfa, great member of Congress from the great state of California, we'd just like to ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. And thank you all for your presence here today on this solemn anniversary. 5 years ago today, a violent mob incited by Donald Trump attacked the Capitol as part of a concerted effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and halt the peaceful transfer of power for the first time in American history. This bloodthirsty, treacherous mob brutally assaulted police officers and seriously injured more than 140 brave men and women of law enforcement. Many have suffered lasting physical and psychological damage. Several tragically lost their lives. Because of the extraordinary bravery of the U.S. Capitol Police, other law enforcement officials, and the resolve of the Congress to return that night, this unprecedented attack on our country and on our democracy failed. Over the last 5 years, instead of holding those responsible for the attack accountable, Donald Trump and far-right extremists in Congress have repeatedly attempted to rewrite history and whitewash the horrific events of January 6th. We will not let that happen. On the first day in office of his second term, instead of fulfilling his promise to lower the high cost of living on day one, Donald Trump pardoned hundreds of violent felons who brutally beat police officers while storming the United States Capitol. The criminals and thugs that Donald Trump pardoned have flooded communities across the country, unleashing violence and mayhem. The crimes committed by those rioters before and after the violent insurrection include child sexual assault, production of child pornography, possession of child pornography, rape, conspiracy to murder FBI agents, kidnapping, sexual assault, aggravated robbery, reckless homicide, driving under the influence causing death, illegal possession of firearms, domestic violence by strangulation, burglary, vandalism, grand theft, stalking, violation of protection orders, threatening public officials, and drug trafficking. It's been a Trump-inspired crime spree. Why won't Republicans in Congress condemn this dangerous behavior, an ongoing threat to public safety? They refuse to serve as a check and balance on an increasingly out-of-control executive branch, preferring to be nothing more than a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda. The January 6th violent attack on the Capitol that took place 5 years ago today was shameful then, it is shameful now, and it will be shameful always and forever. We must continue to learn from what happened on January 6th in order to make sure that it never happens again. We must protect our free and fair elections. We must protect the peaceful transfer of power. We must protect the preeminence of the rule of law. And we must protect the eternal commitment to a democratic America, which remains the last best hope on earth. It is now my honor to yield to the distinguished gentleman from the great state of Mississippi, the once and future chair of the Homeland Security Committee and the chairman emeritus of the January 6th Select Committee, Congressman Benny Thompson.
Thank you so much, Leader Jeffries.
All right, you were just listening in there for a moment to House Democrats holding that hearing today. That's last hour again over on Capitol Hill. Benny Thompson now speaking. He was the once chair of the January 6th committee, if you remember those investigations. Want to take you back live to this camera that we have been continuing to monitor in Washington, D.C. Protesters there marking 5 years since the attack as well. We will continue to monitor the developments there. We do want to turn to some other news. House and, I should say, Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans have just held their weekly press conferences. We want to air those. But first, a quick break. You're watching Brookland News Live. Welcome back here into Brookland News Live. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Still good to be with you. 2:13. Now we are continuing to follow all of your political headlines as well as local headlines. We're going to go first, though, talking about those political headlines. Senate Republicans, the Senate Leader John Thune, the Republican from South Dakota, has just delivered the weekly press conference there for Senate Republicans. Let's take it and listen in.
Of business incentives for businesses to invest, make capital investments in this country, whether that's bonus depreciation, interest deductibility, R&D expensing, the 199A deduction, permanent death tax relief, something that I worked on. Those are all investments that are going to pay off, because what they're going to lead to is higher paying jobs. better wages for people in this country, more money in their pocket to take care of themselves and their families. And the other thing that was included in that, and you're starting now to see as a result of some of the things that we did, the reforms taking place, dealing with, for example, a Medicaid SNAP program, work requirements, eligibility checks, making sure that immigrants, illegal immigrants, are not getting the benefit of some of these programs. Those were all things that were also included in that piece of legislation that we passed last summer. And that's really coming into focus now because of what's happening in the state of Minnesota. We are seeing up close and personal a real example of how some of these government programs are taken advantage of and benefits delivered to people who are not eligible. Our whole goal in that legislation last summer was to make sure that the people who are supposed to benefit from government assistance actually do benefit, and it's not being abused and gamed by states and people around this country. So we think there are just benefits that are going to continue to play out through the course of this next year for the American people, and we think this year, when they start filing their tax returns, it's going to be a good day for them because they're going to have a lot more money in their pocket than they would have if the Democrats had their way and we weren't able to get the tax cuts, the Working Families Tax Cuts bill passed into law.
Mr. Leader.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Happy New Year. When the president talks about Cuba, he talks about Colombia, and he talks about Greenland, is that just bluster, or do you take him at his word?
Well, I think the president has demonstrated, at least already, a very strong commitment to peace through strength, and especially in this hemisphere. And I think Venezuela delivered or got that message loudly and clearly. And I think other countries in this hemisphere who are cooperating with narco-terrorists or in league with China and Russia and Iran and countries like that need to be on notice. And so I think the president's this is not idle threats. I think his indication is that the United States is going to take care of America's vital national security interests, and that people in this region of the world ought to be working constructively with us to ensure that that happens. And in the case of the narco-terrorists, it's protecting a lot of Americans from the poisonous impact of illegal drugs coming into this country, or again becoming a safe harbor for energy interested by countries like Russia and China and Iran.
So you take him at his word.
Do you think that the White House on their website said could blame in part the Capitol Police for the violence that happened on January 6th, 5 years ago? I'm curious whether or not you agree with the assessment on their website that says they're provocative tactics which turn a peaceful demonstration into chaos. Do you think the Capitol Police is partly to blame for the violence?
I haven't seen what they put on their website, but the Capitol Police do a great job around here. This Friday is Law Enforcement Day, and we will honor and express our appreciation and gratitude to the men and women who serve in law enforcement across this country, including the Capitol Police, who protect this building on a daily basis.
Do you think that any health care deal to address these health insurance premiums rising has to include some form of the Crapo-Cassidy proposal to establish HSAs? Democrats aren't thrilled about it. Will Republicans insist on some form of HSAs being part of the deal?
I think any deal that ultimately comes together that could get the necessary votes in the Senate. Can't speak for the House, and obviously the White House is going to have their own views on this too. But to get a majority in the United States Senate and a healthy majority, I would think, one, you would have to have reforms. So you'd have to deal with the income limits. You'd have to deal with the $0 premium issue and make sure that everybody at least is paying something for coverage, so that the insurance companies can't game it and auto-enroll people and then have the money flow directly to them. And then the second component would be some sort of a bridge to HSAs, an expansion of HSAs, so that you're getting more money into the pockets of the American people, the patients, if you will, the consumers, as opposed to the insurance companies. And then finally, you've got to deal with the height issue. I mean, those, I think, are the kind of the big three when it comes to something that could get through the Senate. And I know there are discussions going on right now with some of our members. We'll see where that goes. Ultimately, we want to ensure that if we do anything, it's done in a way that reforms these programs and ensures that those dollars aren't being used to go against the practice that's been in place for the last 50 years around here when it comes to taxpayer dollars being used to finance abortions, and that it also has this movement in the future toward HSAs and more utilization of those.
Leader, on Venezuela.
Thank you. On Venezuela, President Trump has said he expects the U.S. to spend billions on the Venezuelan oil infrastructure, and that he expects to work with U.S. oil companies, meeting with them, and pay them back. How do you see using U.S. money, and do you think the Senate is ready to pass that? I assume you think that the Senate must approve that for that, and also to Frank's earlier question, do you think Capitol Police have a role in causing genocides?
Well, first, on Venezuela, my view is that the Venezuela energy industry, which is in cahoots with China and Russia, is now going to need to start working constructively with the United States and with energy companies here. And what will happen if that actually takes place is that you will start seeing the people of Venezuela benefit from the energy industry instead of having the folks that they're in league with in China and Russia. So my view is that it's not going to be a cost to the American taxpayer. This ought to be revenue coming into this country if we're working in a way with Venezuela, and hopefully that an energy supply, a commodity that can benefit the Venezuelan people, which is something that I think they should derive some benefit from. And right now, their leadership, because they are corrupt and in bed with narco-terrorists and in bed with China and Russia, the people in that country are not seeing the benefit of something that they got, an energy resource in this country that ought to be to their benefit. And again, I would just say, with respect to, we all here support 100% Capitol Police and the job that they do around here on a daily basis. Thank you.
Alrighty, just moments ago there over on Capitol Hill, a wrap up there of that press conference from Senate Republicans. Senate Democrats also held their press conference. But before we get to that, I want to talk about some news here in Arkansas. Well, if you have not already heard about this phone usage, Arkansas trying to limit it when you are on the road. Arkansas said to roll out these new cameras within work zones using artificial intelligence to detect when a driver is using a handheld device when driving in these work zones. Currently, the cameras only detect speeding violations. This all expected to occur just by mid-January, so later this month. The cameras also going to detect now handheld device usage. I was just saying, so speeding or on your phone within a work zone, you will be seeing a ticket in the mail. I want to read a quote here from the the RDOT director, Jared Wilkie. He emphasized, quote, "Safety is our top priority at RDOT. This includes the safety of workers within work zones, travelers passing through work zones, and officers stationed in or near work zones. Everyone deserves to make it home safely." These signs there are going to be signs that will alert you if you're driving and you are about to enter a zone that does have one of these cameras. So just something new there that is being rolled out now by the state of Arkansas. Okay, I was just telling you that there was also Senate Democrats who held a press conference earlier today. I want to play that out in its entirety. This was actually literally right before we came on the air, and it concluded as we came on the air. So here is Senate Democrats today.
And thank you for Senators Warner and Duckworth for being here. Now, yesterday, Mark and I and other members sat through more than a 2.5-hour classified briefing with the administration, and after all that time, we got no real answers. They don't know where they're headed. They think they can do step 1, take out Maduro, and they have no idea what steps 2 through 10 are going to be, which gives all of us a great deal of worry. I asked 4 simple questions. How many American troops are we going to send to Venezuela? They don't know. How long will we be running Venezuela? Don't know. Unknown. How much is this going to cost? We tried to pin them down. No answer. What country is next? Unknown. But I was very unsatisfied when I asked them, are they considering going into other countries? It was really troubling. And last night, when asked, Trump told Americans he's in charge of Venezuela. When asked who's in charge of Venezuela, Trump said, me. One man, no idea, no plan. Whatever pops into his head, it seems, from that briefing. So let me ask a simple question. How does spending potentially years and potentially billions of taxpayer dollars in Venezuela put America first? How does this help families here at home pay the rent, pay the mortgage, pay for groceries, pay their energy bill, pay for their health care? Because right now, millions of Americans are losing coverage. Millions more are paying thousands, even tens of thousands more for health insurance. And what are Trump and Republicans doing? Nothing. He's all focused on Venezuela and Latin America. America first means lowering health care costs here at home, instead of using taxpayer dollars to build up the oil fields in Venezuela. It means helping American farmers, not bailing out Argentinian farmers. It means bringing manufacturing back to our shores, not handing over critical chips to China. It means helping families afford rent, mortgages, and energy bills. Instead, Trump is focused, it seems, on helping his big oil buddies, and he's focused on personal vanity projects like renaming the Kennedy Center and choosing which marble armrest to install. Instead of figuring out and helping us reduce health care costs, he's figuring out which marble armrest to install. The result? Life's getting a lot harder for American families. Republicans aren't just ignoring it, they're making it a lot worse. Senator Warner.
Well, thank you, Chuck. Let me also say one of the things that came out of the briefing yesterday was how extraordinary our military has been to execute this mission under fire without the loss of a single American life. It's really extraordinary. And as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs made clear, every component of the military was used. Because what this was a military action. And it is not the notion that the administration has put forward that somehow this is simply a legal action serving a warrant. That's absurd. It doesn't pass the smell test. And the ironic thing is here, they have used the argument on attacking the so-called drug boats as military action as opposed to legal enforcement, while this supposedly was simply a legal enforcement. It does not pass the smell test. I commend our military, but echoing what Senator Schumer said, military execution without a plan for the day after leads to devastating consequences. Secondarily, the president on Saturday said he's not only going to run Venezuela, but this is not going to cost the American taxpayer a dime. Haven't we heard that promise before in Iraq, where Iraq oil was going to pay for the whole cost of the invasion? Now he's saying Venezuelan oil is going to pay for all of this operation. The challenge is this. We have an economic chokehold on Venezuela at this point by the blockade. To restore, though, Venezuela's oil exporting ability to about 1 million barrels a day, to get back up to where it was a decade plus ago, 4 million barrels a day, will literally take 2 to 4 years of rebuilding and some level of security for companies that go in. We couldn't get an answer as well as how much is the cost of having 20% of our fleet, the largest armada assembled in the Caribbean since the 20th century, how much per day is it costing our fleet to be stationed off of Venezuela, maintaining that economic chokehold? And by the fact that at the end of the day, the Venezuelans are going to pay for all of this, or Venezuelan oil, does that mean that 20% of the fleet has to stay there a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? These are the kind of questions that need to be answered. And I'll also echo what Senator Schumer said. A lot of our Virginians over the holidays lost their health insurance. This does nothing to make health insurance more affordable, groceries more affordable, drive down the cost of rent. That's what the American people want the President and the Congress to focus on. With that, my friend, Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Senator Warner. Senator Duckworth.
you. Thank you, Senator Warner. Thank you, Senator Schumer. I just want to say how in awe I am of the 160th air crew. Those boys and gals are badass, and all of those rotary wing air crew, I bow down to them. The Delta Force folks, what they managed to do. I've flown over urban areas in a combat situation, and what they did was remarkable. You know, here's the thing, though. I've flown in a war that was fought over oil. I flew to out of Fort Knox to Kuwait and into Iraq 21 years ago to serve in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I went not because I supported the war. Saddam Hussein was a bad guy, he was a dictator, and he deserved to be removed from power. However, the problem we have is that it is not the American people's responsibility to go around the world removing dictators from power and then running foreign countries when we have problems here at home. Maduro, brutal dictator. I would never dispute that. But the problem we have is the fact that yet again we have now entered into a war where there is no known off-ramp. If Donald Trump wants to run a country, he should think about running the United States of America. I was home over the break and I spoke to a gentleman whose health insurance policy for him and his wife are going to go up from $3,000 to $12,000. He cannot afford those premiums. His wife is sick. He's giving up his health insurance in order to be able to afford hers because they're on one income because she cannot work. Look, I don't know, maybe Trump dodged the draft so many times that he isn't capable of understanding the lessons that the rest of us have learned from past conflicts that are based on lies. We fought a war in Iraq for oil. We sent troops there, myself included, looking for weapons of mass destruction that did not exist. It was a war that was built on bluster and bravado from ignorance and arrogance of those in leadership, and yet here we are again in Venezuela. The reality is Trump's actions this past weekend and his reckless escalation in the days since seems all too familiar to those of us who have served in uniform. He has risked American lives to interfere in another nation's politics without legal basis, and for no good reason that he can articulate other than for the greed of oil. Trump campaigned on bringing costs down. He promised he'd get our nation out of wars, not into them. He campaigned on America first. Well, you know what? That's bullshit, because that's not how he's governing. When I go home to Illinois, folks are talking about health care costs, grocery costs. Tell me, please tell me, how he's making America great again when those costs for everyday Americans are skyrocketing because of his policies. When farmers tell me, you know what, I'm 8th generation, there won't be a 9th generation, we're about to lose our family farm because of his tariffs. Tell me how he's making America great again. So let me just say this. Instead of helping folks afford basic needs, Trump is more focused on regime change and building his Marie Antoinette ballroom, things that do not help everyday families we are supposed to be serving. It is a true testament to our troops' abilities that no Americans died during this operation. But we are already seeing reports that several Americans were injured. And yet at the same time, he's devastating the VA. He's firing. He had a goal of firing 83,000 employees from the VA, the same department that is supposed to be taking care of veterans who serve in these wars. Trump has never understood that the real cost of war isn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the blood and sacrifices of our service members and their families. But our troops know all too well just how costly it can be when a president relies on lies to engage in war over oil without a clearly defined end state. We know better. The American people know better. Listen, we've always known that Donald Trump is a coward and a liar. But this weekend, he proved that when he missed the Vietnam War, he also missed the lessons Americans learned there, the lessons that my buddies and I learned in Iraq decades later. So I'm here today to remind him of the true cost of war. I'm here to say that if he cares about putting America first, then maybe he should focus on running America and not Venezuela. Thank you.
I always try to call on a woman first. Go ahead, in the red. Well, you don't have to answer. Right there. It's the men are always woo-woo-woo, so I like to.
On health care, President Trump in his speech to House Republicans today that said they should take health care as an issue from Democrats and own it. But he also did say they should show some flexibility on pie. Do you think President Trump is open to a bipartisan deal, or do you think he's urging them to go down a partisan route?
From all their actions, they're totally partisan. None of them say extend the credits. Thune and Johnson are against extending them for a day, let alone a week, a month, a year, which is what's going to bring the health care cost down as much as. The Republican caucuses seem wedded to extending Hyde. That's, again, when you talk to their leadership. And so I think the best thing they can do is have the House pass Hakeem Jeffries' bill, send it over here, let Thune put it on the floor, and let's pass it. Go ahead, Schumer.
Given what's happened here in Venezuela and the actions that Marco Rubio has taken, do you regret your vote to confirm him?
I am deeply, deeply disappointed in Marco Rubio, even before Venezuela, and even more so now. Yes.
Democrats used the appropriations process to restrict the Trump administration from deploying a major contingent of troops to Venezuela or to prevent the Trump administration from going after Cuba or another country.
Okay. Our first focus has to be on what's coming up to Thursday, which is the War Powers Act, which Tim Kaine, Adam Schiff, Rand Paul, and myself have introduced. If we can pass that, and it only needs 2 more votes, it got 2 Republican votes last time, all future action that they do in Venezuela could stop. That's our #1 focus. That's the best thing to do right now. Yes.
Yeah. How do you see the security implications of the Maduro operation for our allies in the Pacific? There's especially increasing concern in Taiwan that China will become
Well, Mark Warner has said this well. I'll paraphrase it and let him elaborate. What now prevents? There's always been norms in foreign policy that have served the United States well for hundreds of years, and certainly in the post-World War II era. What now prevents Xi from a Chinese court indicting a Taiwan leader and then scooping them up and arresting them? What prevents Putin from doing that to Ukrainians? This is very dangerous. Mark?
Let me just add, international order isn't perfect, but it puts some boundaries. If any large country can say to a smaller country next door, we don't like your leader, and he or she broke our law, and then go in and extract him, where does that lead? It leads to chaos, which has been the main drive of this Trump administration. The other thing that we heard on Saturday was we heard a kind of a Trumpian approach about spheres of influence, or the Don Roe doctrine. For 75 years, under Democrats and Republican administrations alike, we thought, well, you know what? It's in our interest, best interest, to treat with respect the countries in Central America and South America, not as kind of us being the imperial leader of the whole hemisphere. This kind of 21st century imperialism means that, does China get all of East Asia now? Does Russia get all of the former Soviet Union? Does it get Germany or Czechoslovakia as well, or the Czech Republic as well, within their so-called sphere of influence? This is why this kind of chaotic, by the seat of the pants foreign policy, not only does it turn potentially partners in Central and South America against us, but it scares the hell out of all of our allies in terms of our commitment.
Leader Schumer. Thank you. On government funding here, when we talk about appropriations, though, why not then go to the mat? I understand what you're saying about the Kaine resolution. I understand. Is there concern that you might have a government shutdown if you guys try to cut off funding from Venezuela?
We're focused on the Kaine resolution. That's the best way to go, and that's what we're focused on.
Why not use the power of the purse?
Can we please get your response to the President's recent rhetoric and threats toward Colombia, Iraq, Greenland, and Cuba? And has Congress made a mistake by giving them too much war power to the executive branch of the union?
Well, look, ask our Republican colleagues that. We've tried several war power resolutions. We've gotten a few people to join them, but not enough. And it's needed now more than ever with a reckless president, a president who is just reckless when it comes to foreign policy. It's sort of fly by the seat of your pants. In that briefing, I said, oh, it's hope for the best, but they don't have any plans. You can't do things that way. And so War Powers Act is extremely, extremely important. Yeah, go ahead.
On the issue of these other nation states, Maduro lost in 24. I wish the previous administration had done more to push him out at that point. But when you start talking about Colombia and Mexico, they're nations that had democratic elections. And we're going to somehow say we're going to superimpose our position on democratically elected states? What message does that send to the world? And the whole notion, I think the first few months, people kind of joked about Greenland. But the idea that he's potentially posing a serious military threat, nothing would lead to the absolute destruction of NATO more than American aggressive action against a long-term ally like Denmark.
I asked for some assurances that they were not planning operations in other countries, and I named a few of the ones you mentioned, including Colombia and Cuba, and I was very, very disappointed in their answer. Thank you, everybody.
Senate Democrats there holding their weekly press conference from Capitol Hill, addressing a number of issues, mostly specifically, really on this camera watching here at the Colombia-Venezuelan border, the Venezuelan attack and the capture of President Maduro, who currently remains jailed right now in a prison in Brooklyn, New York. We're following every angle of that story. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to sneak in a quick break. On the other side of that, President Donald Trump spoke at a Republican conference just this morning. We're going to air just a piece of that as we have about 20 minutes left of this hour. In the meantime, though, a quick break. Brooklyn News Live returns right after this. And we welcome you back right here live into Brooklyn News headquarters right here in Brooklyn, Arkansas. I'm Jackson Mitchell. It is good to be with you. We're following tons of headlines, but we've been showing you some of those, of course, the updates in Venezuela, the new cameras that Arkansas is launching. We want to talk just a little bit about where your forecast stands right now. I don't have the camera that we usually use, the R-dot camera, that actually shows you outside right now. But what I do have is the fact that it is 70 degrees outside. You may be wondering, how long is this going to last? That's such a good question. It's going to last, let me pull up the forecast here. It's going to last for the next few days. We're going to start to lose the heat that we're seeing right now by Saturday, low of 31, a high of only 50. As we go into Sunday, it keeps going down there, a low of 29, a high of 49. And as we keep going throughout the week, we are going to see some lower temperatures. But really, throughout the rest of this entire week, throughout Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're going to see highs in the upper 60s and lows in the high 40s, low 60s, and low 50s. So it is going to be a warm next few days. Something I'm quite excited for as we've had this winter heat. It's not winter cold, I should say. It's nice to have a little bit of heat outside as you step outside and see the sun poke out throughout the last little bit. Okay, we're going to take it right now because President Trump spoke earlier this morning in front of the House GOP retreat event. Here is the president now here. And it looks like they're playing the music, so we're going to turn the audio down and talk over it here. He addressed Venezuela and a number of other topics there to see him saying hello, moving his fist just a little bit as he talked about the Congress people. I'm sure a number of Republican Congress people in the crowd there. Let's listen in now to President Trump.
I do love that song, but we got to get to business. I love that song, but I want to thank you all. We're special people, and I want to just say that, I announced I was coming over here, and I said, I love those Republicans, and I meant it. I said, except for maybe a couple I don't love. But the people in this room, I don't know if those couple are here. I don't know. I don't care if they're here or not. But we love you, and you've done an amazing job. You love the country. You're doing what's right for the country. And I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, the most successful House Republican majority in decades. And we did it with not a big majority, right? That was not a big majority, but it's a unified majority, and it's people that know what it takes to make America great again. So together we had 12 months of unprecedented success in 2025, and now we're going to make history and break records with the epic midterm victory that we're going to pull off. It just doesn't seem to happen for people that win the presidency. It's an amazing phenomenon. You win the presidency, and we sure as hell are having a successful presidency, I will say that. But even if it's a successful presidency, it's been nothing like what we're doing. We had a very good day 2 days ago, too. But even if it's successful, they don't win. I don't know what it is. There's something psychological, like you vote against. You can win by a lot. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But they say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm. So you're all brilliant people. Most of you are in this business longer than me. That makes me smarter than you, because look where I am, right? No, it doesn't. But I wish you could explain to me what the hell's going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy. They don't. They have a horrible policy. They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious. They're vicious people, and they stick together like glue. They don't have a couple of the people that we have. A couple of people, not too many. Really very few. And that's why I want to just say that before we go any further, I want to express our tremendous sorrow at the loss of a great member, a great member, Congressman Doug LaMalfa, who passed away yesterday, as you probably have heard. And he was the leader of the Western Caucus, a fierce champion on California water issues. He was great on water. He wanted to release the water, he'd scream at him. And a true defender of American children. He was a defender of everybody. And our hearts go out to his wife, Jill, and his entire family. He voted with me 100% of the time. And by the way, he wasn't a 3 o'clock in the morning person. Do you know what I mean by that? Where the speaker goes, sir, could you call up? Could you call? I said, what time is it, speaker? Sir, it's 3 in the morning. Could you make a couple of calls? How many? 9. So I'd start calling 3 in the morning. I said, I shouldn't use any names. I'm just going to create problems. But hi, Jim, and I'm not talking about Jim Jordan. I never had a call 3 in the morning for him. But I said, hi, Jim, how you doing? I just called to say hello, 3 in the morning. Okay, sir. Sir, you haven't spoken to me in 3 years, and it's now 3 in the morning, so I know what you want. You want my vote? And usually almost always they'd give it. But they wanted to be called. And with Doug, I never had a call. He was with us right from the beginning. I love those guys. I must say I probably love them the best, the guys that I don't have to call. They know we're doing the right thing. I have a couple that are going to be with us all the way, but they just want the call. They want love. They need love. They're more insecure than most of you. It's true. No, most of you are secure people. They're all laughing. No, most of you are secure people. I had a couple say, look, I could have Trump call me all the time. I just have to break his ass a little bit. And he'll be calling. But I appreciate those. We actually had a little party. We opened up a beautiful section of the White House in the Rose Garden, and we had a party for all of those people that I never speak to and vote for me. And you know, I spoke to Doug, but I didn't speak to him about, never had a problem. And I was really saddened by his passing and was thinking about not even doing the speech in his honor. But then I decided that I have to do it in his honor. I'll do it in his honor because he would have wanted it that way. He would have wanted it that way. He would have said, do that speech. Are you kidding me? Do the speech, big guy. But he was a fantastic person. Man, that was a quick one. I don't know quite yet what happened, but boy, it's a tough one. He was just with us. He was our friend, all of us, every one of us. And I also want to send our best wishes to Congressman Jim Baird and his wife, who are recovering from a car accident. They're going to be okay, but they had a pretty bad accident. And we're praying that they get out of that hospital very quickly. He's going to be fine. She's going to be fine, but it was a bad accident. And I want to thank the man who has been central to so many of our triumphs. He really has been. He's the guy that would call me to make those calls all the time. He's always working. And he's a nice person. You know, he's a high quality person. But I want to tell you, he's a very tough cookie. I've seen both sides. Not often do I have to see the other side, because he's just, by nature, he's a very fine, religious. I like that. He's a religious person. I like that. I like religious people. It usually means they're more honest. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. I've had some real religious ones that did numbers on me, and I said, I'm going to get them someday. They got me by surprise, but it's usually good, okay, right? And his name is Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson. He has my complete and total endorsement. Stand up, Speaker. So, you know, but it is true. A lot of times they'll say, I wish Mike were tougher. He's tough. He's tough as anybody in the room, actually. But can't be tough when you have a majority of 3. And now, sadly, a little bit less than that. A little bit less than that, maybe. But you can't be Trump. You can't, I want you. You know, you make 10 enemies, 20 enemies. That's the end of that, right? Everybody loves him. I would say there's one person he's given up on. I think he just gave up on this guy. He's so bad. He never votes for us. But no matter how good, he won't vote for us. There's a sickness there. You know, there's something wrong. You can have the greatest bill, the greatest for the country. Forget about for Republicans. Great, great, great for the country. I'm a no vote. We don't even bother calling him at 3 in the morning, do we? Huh? But I want to thank another guy who's as tough as they come, because he went through something that none of us have gone through. I went through a little shot, but I get that throbbing feeling every once in a while. But what he went through was incredible. And that Steve Scalise, he got hit hard. Where's Steve? Steve. He's a tough cookie. He was dead. I went to the hospital. His wife was crying so much. She was a mess. Oh, yeah, she loves you. That's the only thing I learned about Steve, that he has a wife who loves him. Because I've gone to hospitals where guys are in bad shape, and the wife couldn't care less. She's waiting. She's looking for the next guy. Who's the next guy down the pike? Who the hell is the next guy? He's died. I said, that's so bad. Oh, yeah. I had one where the dog died and the husband died at the same time. I said, it's so sad. Yes, I love this dog so much. She couldn't give it, and the guy left her a fortune. Can you imagine? He shouldn't have left her anything, but she was much more concerned. It's true. Oh, the dog was devastated. The husband, he was like an afterthought. Your wife loves you, Steve. She's a great wife. Another one who has a great wife, Jackie, is Tom Emmer, right? Look at you. You have a great wife, but you haven't been tested like these guys. You haven't. We don't want to test her, right? She's incredible. She's a strong, beautiful, great person. She's a great person. She actually liked me at the beginning when we were having little fights. We weren't even having fights. We just didn't know each other. We didn't know each other. And I heard he said something negative about me. He was sort of right about the subject, but you're not supposed to say ever, even though you're right. But Jackie was saying, I'm telling you, he's a great guy. He's good. He's going to be a great president, blah, blah, blah. She was fighting for me. And now I love this guy. He's great. Jackie's right about, she was right about both of us, I think, right? But Tom has been incredible. He's incredible at what he does. And he's a great team player. Your conference chair, Lisa McLean, is so strong and powerful and beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you. And I think their broadcast, you know, we said we don't care if the press comes or not. So when I say that, that means they're there. They're broadcasting all this, and I'm letting my feelings out because it's true. I feel that way about so many people in the room. I could say it about many of the people in the room. Some I don't know as well, but many of the people in the room. They're incredible people. You're incredible what you're doing. We also have another one, Richard Hudson, Chairman, NRCC. Richard's always in there. Always with a smile. No matter what's happening, Richard. He always has a smile. He's just a positive guy, smart and positive. Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate it. You do a great job. Republican Policy Committee Chairman, Kevin Hearn. Kevin, where are you, Kevin? Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Did a great job. Every one of you got to be proud of yourselves. And basically the entire House Republican Conference. It's been really amazing what you've done. And we're going to give you some ammunition today. I said, I'd love to make a speech. The Speaker asked me, would you make a speech? I said, sure. You think Biden would do that? Would you make a speech? What? First of all, people wouldn't ask him to make a speech because it never worked out well, right? Could never find the exits. You finish, look, stare here, stare there, stare here. You could jump off the front if you had to. No matter what he did, he got himself into trouble. So basically, they didn't ask him to, but if he did, it wouldn't be good. But it's good with me because, you know, we have so much ammunition. We have ammunition. The problem is the fake news. That's why I like being on. I'd much rather do live television than do non-live because, like, when they say, as an example in my speech, peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol, peacefully and patriotically. Do you know that the Unselect Committee didn't report it, that I said those words? Do you know that the news never reported the words walk or march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol? Do you know they never reported it? It's a scandal. The Unselect Committee never reported that. They never reported that Nancy Pelosi was offered 10,000 soldiers, National Guard soldiers, whatever you want. No, I don't want them. And the mayor. The mayors were in writing. She was more honorable about it. But Nancy got caught when her daughter did a documentary. She's a documentariist. And she has her mother saying, it's my fault. I should have taken the soldiers or something. I saw that in the documentary. I said, whoa, this was a major story. Has she spoken to her daughter since that, you know? But they just, you know, they are vicious people, even on the attack. And it was an amazing military feat.
Alrighty, you've been listening in there to President Trump, the first few moments there of his remarks, speaking about a few Congress people's wives and different things of that nature as you listen to him at that GOP retreat there held in D.C. Again, that was from earlier, I should really say this morning. As we wrap things up, I want to take you through a few of those headlines that we are continuing to follow. Maybe here. There we go. Here are a few of those those headlines that we're following. So today, it's January 6th, 2026, marking 1 year. There's a look from earlier today since the attack on the Capitol back in 2021. following President Trump's loss in the 2020 election. A live look there at a tanker set up at the Colombia-Venezuelan border, as Colombia has stepped up security in a move that they say could help from the people trying to immigrate over into Colombia from Venezuela, of course, following the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. We're going to follow that. Here's a look also at, from moments ago, I should say, on Capitol Hill. A hearing was held. There's Jamie Raskin there speaking at that hearing on the January 6th attack. It was held mostly by House Democrats there. A lot to follow. We are going to continue to follow all of those headlines and more. In the meantime, that is going to do it for this edition of Brookland News Live. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. Remember, you can join us every weekday at 2 p.m. Take a look there. Again, that's weekdays at 2 p.m. 2 to 3. We're here bringing you the news of the day. In the meantime, that is going to do it for us. Hope you all have a great rest of your day.